Today, I want to talk to you about something no one wants to admit. No one wants to look at it head-on because it's uncomfortable, it's disgusting, and it makes you take a serious look at your own life. I want to talk about the cost of inaction, not the cost of failure, not the cost of trying and failing, the cost of doing nothing at all, about caution, about waiting, about choosing comfort over growing day by day. Because here's what most people don't understand. They think inaction is a neutral choice. They think not making a decision is not making a decision. They think they have nothing to lose by staying put. But that's the biggest lie you'll ever tell yourself. Inaction is not neutral. Inaction is a choice. And like any choice, it has a cost. A real cost. A hard cost. And you pay it every single day, whether you know it or not. Let me paint you a picture. And I want you to really sit with this. Really process this. You reach 30. You have this feeling in your chest. It's been haunting you for years. A quiet voice telling you that you're capable of more. That the job you're at isn't what you're meant to be doing. That the life you're living isn't the life you're meant to be living. But it's comfortable. Pays the bills. It's not perfect, but it's not terrible either. So you wait. You tell yourself you'll make a move when the time is right. When you have more savings, when the kids are older, when things have calmed down a bit. Now imagine that. 5 years pass. You're 35. That feeling in your chest is still there. It's louder now, but now you also have more responsibility, more obligations. The voice gets harder to ignore, but the excuses become easier to find. So you wait a little longer. 10 years pass. You're 40. That feeling in your chest is no longer a whisper. It's an ache, a dull, constant ache. You look at the people who have taken this step, and you feel something you don't want to name. Bitterness, resentment. You tell yourself they're lucky. You tell yourself it was the wrong time for you. But deep down, where you can't lie to yourself, you know the truth. The truth is, you chose this every single day. You chose it not by doing wrong, but by doing nothing. That's the price of inaction. Not dramatic failure, not public embarrassment, but just a slow, quiet shrinking. A life that gets smaller with each passing year while you stand still and the world keeps moving. And the worst part is, no one around you will even notice. Friends won't say anything. Family won't care because everyone else is doing the same. Everyone is waiting. Everyone is comfortable. Everyone is choosing inaction and calling it responsibility. And you look around and feel fine. You feel like you're doing just fine. But okay isn't what you came here for. Okay is the most dangerous word in the English language. Okay means you've stopped. Okay means you've resigned yourself to it. Okay means you've looked at everything you could have achieved and said, that's enough. But it's not enough. And somewhere inside, you already know that's what no one tells you about inaction. Feels safe. It even feels responsible. Feels smart. You're not taking risks. You're not putting yourself out there. You won't fail because you're not really trying. And your brain likes it that way. Your brain is designed to avoid discomfort, to conserve energy, to keep you in familiar territory. So when you choose to do nothing, your brain rewards you. It gives you a little dose of relief. Little, safe, comfortable, no risk. But that relief is a trap. Because while your brain is giving you that little dose of comfort, time is running out. Opportunities are slipping away. The version of you that could have existed, the better, stronger, more alive version of you, is slowly fading into one that never existed. The hardest part about understanding the cost of inaction is that you don't feel it right away. If you touch a hot stove, you instantly feel the burn. If you make a bad investment, you see the losses in your account. But when you do nothing, when you let another day go by without working toward what you want, the cost is invisible. It doesn't hurt today. It doesn't hurt even next week, but it accumulates. Just like interest accrues on a bank account, the cost of your inaction accumulates slowly, quietly, unnoticed, until one day you look around and see a huge debt. And by then, part of it will never be repaid. Think about that for a second. Every day of inaction adds interest to a debt you don't even know exists. Every day you skip work, avoid risk, choose the couch over a chore, the debt grows. And one day, maybe in 10 years, maybe in 20, you'll have to face that debt. And the price you pay won't be money. The price you pay will be regret. And regret is the most precious thing in the world because it can never be fully repaid. It just lies there, heavy, eternal, a reminder of everything you could have been but weren't. Time is the one thing you can never get back. Not a second. People talk about money like it's the most valuable thing in the world. Work harder, earn more, save more, invest more. And money matters. I'm not saying it doesn't, but you can lose every dollar and get it back. People have done it. People have gone from nothing to everything many times in a single lifetime. But time, you lose a day, that day is gone. You lose a year, that year is gone. You waste a decade sitting in a job you hate, stuck in habits that are killing you, waiting for life to somehow magically get better. This decade is gone. You won't get it back. Someone said it in a way I'll never forget. You get 75 years if you're lucky. 75 winters, 75 summers, 75 chances to watch the leaves change color in the fall. When you look at it that way, when you really count it, it doesn't seem like much. It doesn't seem like enough time to waste years being comfortable. It doesn't seem like enough time to spend decades doing something that drains you of everything. It doesn't seem like enough time to constantly say, tomorrow, next month, next year. The sun rises whether you're ready or not. The days pass whether you take advantage of them or not. And the older you get, the faster time flies. You're 25 and it seems like you have all the time in the world. Then you blink, you're 35, and you wonder where the last 10 years went, then vu. Blink again, you're 45, and the question becomes more and more serious. It's not scary yet, but it does get heavier. And then one day, the question stops being abstract. One day, it takes on weight and urgency, a deadline looming that feels very, very real. The people who understand this understand it instinctively. They're the people who stop waiting. They're the people who decide that today is the only thing that's real. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed. Yesterday is gone. Today, right now, is what you have. So what do you do with it? I want you to think about the people lying in hospital beds right now. Think about those who have just received a diagnosis that has changed everything. Think about those looking at the doctor who tells them they have 6 months, maybe a year. Think about what's going through their minds at that moment. You think they're thinking about the risks they took. You think they're reliving the times they embarrassed themselves by trying something and failing. No, you know what they're thinking about? Things they never did, conversations they never had, businesses they never started, trips they never took, the person they never told they loved, the lives they put off until they had more time. And the worst part, the thing that should keep you up at night, is that most of them had the same amount of time you have now. They just spent it differently. They spent it waiting. They spent it in comfort. They spent it doing nothing. And now the window is closed, and there's nothing left to do but wish things had been different. When you ask people who are near death what they regret, they don't say they regret trying to do something and failing. They don't say one show they wish they had played it safer. They don't say they wish they had taken fewer risks and spent more time in their comfort zone. Every time, regrets come from inaction. I wish I had the courage to be myself. I wish I had taken more risks. I wish I hadn't worried so much about what other people thought. I wish I had started sooner. I wish I hadn't wasted so much time on things that didn't matter. I wish I had lived my life, not the one others expected of me. These are the words of people who have been choosing one path for too long. And they are the most heartbreaking words in the world, because by the time they are spoken, there is nothing left. Time is up. The game is over. And all that remains is the weight of what could have been. The richest place on earth is not Silicon Valley. This is not Wall Street. This is not an oil field. a gold mine, or a diamond mine, anywhere on the planet. The richest place on Earth is a cemetery, because in a cemetery you'll find inventions that were never invented, businesses that were never built, books that were never written, songs that were never sung, works of art that were never created, ideas that could have changed the world, all of them gone, buried, dead, because the person who had them was too afraid, too comfortable, or too convinced that tomorrow would be a better day to start over. And then tomorrow never came. There's something inside you. You know it's there. You have an idea, a dream, a vision for a life that looks different than the one you're living now. And every day you do nothing is another day that thing buries itself deeper. You can feel it fading, can't you? The older you get, the quieter that voice becomes. Not because the dream died, but because you kept choosing comfort over it. Until the dream stopped fighting to be heard. Until it gave in. Until it was accepted as buried and went silent. Don't let that happen. Not because someone told you not to, but because you truly know there's more to you than what you're currently showing the world. And the world needs what you have, not someday. Now here's a question that will change the way you experience life if you let it. If you only had 6 months to live, just 6 months, what would you give up? What would you finally start doing? Who would you call? Where would you go? What would you say that you've been holding inside all this time? Think about that for a second, because the answer to that question isn't a fantasy. The answer to that question is the truth about what's truly important to you. The answer is your true values, stripped away all the excuses, obligations, and noise. And here's what's hard to hear: whatever you thought, whatever came to mind when you asked yourself that question, you don't need a death sentence to follow it. You have time right now. You're still alive right now. The clock is ticking. Yes, but it's not up yet. Not yet. So why are you waiting? What are you waiting for that you don't have yet? Permission. No one is coming to give you permission. Confidence. Confidence doesn't exist. The perfect moment. The perfect moment doesn't exist. No one who has ever built anything great waited for the perfect moment. They started at the wrong moment with the wrong resources in the wrong circumstances and figured it out as they went, because that's how it works. The beginning makes the moment perfect, not the other way around. Let me tell you what an action is really worth. Not in theory, not in some abstract future. Right now, today. Every day you stay at a job you hate, you pay with your energy, your creativity, your self-esteem. You give the best hours of your life to something that doesn't matter to you. And you come home drained, without the energy for what really matters. Every day you skip a workout, skip self-discipline, skip a habit you know you should develop. You're investing in the wrong account. You're investing in a future version of yourself that will be weaker, slower, more tired, and more stuck than you are today. Every day you avoid difficult conversations. Avoid necessary risks. Avoid the leap you know you need to take. You shrink, not abruptly, not all at once. Slowly, quietly, you become a lesser version of yourself. And the scary thing is, it happens so gradually that you hardly notice. You don't wake up one day and feel like a completely different person. You just wake up one day and realize you can't remember the last time you felt truly alive. You can't remember the last time you did something that scared you in a good way. You can't remember the last time you felt a surge of energy from truly striving for something. And by then, you've been asleep for so long that waking up seems almost impossible. What you don't change, you choose. Read that again. What you don't change, you choose. If you're unhappy with your body and don't do anything about it, you choose that body. If you're unhappy with your finances and don't do anything about it, then you choose those finances. If you're unhappy with your relationships, your habits, your worldview, your circumstances, and you change absolutely nothing, then you choose. Every single day, choose all of these things over doing nothing. And this isn't to break you. This isn't to make you feel worse. This is to show you something important. Because if you choose this, if it's your actions that are keeping you here, then you also have the power to choose differently. Right now, today, you have that power. You've always had that power. People are afraid of failure. Deeply afraid, it's one of the most common human fears. The fear of trying and failing. The fear of looking stupid. The fear of putting everything you have into something and having it not work. That fear is real. And I'm not going to pretend it isn't. But here's what no one talks about. Failure is loud. Failure gets your attention. Failure causes pain that awakens you, teaches you something. And ultimately, if you let it, makes you stronger. Failure is feedback. She tells you what didn't work so you can figure out what will. Every great success story you've ever heard is built on a foundation of failures that preceded it. Not one, not two, but dozens, sometimes hundreds. Failure wasn't the enemy of success. Failure was the road to success. The path ran right through it. Inaction is silence. Inaction doesn't announce itself. It doesn't wake you up. It just quietly robs you day after day, until one day you're 60 and you look back on your life and wonder what happened. And the answer is nothing happened. That's what happened. You let nothing happen. And by then, the loss isn't just painful, it's irreversible. The person who tries and fails 1,000 times will always be ahead of the person who never tries at all. Always, because the one who tries builds something even in failure, even in stumbles and obstacles. It builds resilience, knowledge, skills, and a life story worth telling. The one who does nothing builds nothing. They watch life from the sidelines and call it playing safe. But it's not safe. It never was safe. It's just slow. And slow losses are still losses. If you're not failing, then you're not trying. And if you're not trying, then you're not growing. And if you're not growing, then you're not living. You're just existing. And existing is not the same as living, not even close to that in every person's light. And most people have many such moments. There is one when something inside says forward, when they feel a pull towards something more meaningful, something real. When the voice becomes loud enough that it can no longer be ignored. And in that moment, they have a choice. They can listen, they can take a step, they can feel the fear and do it anyway, or they can wait. They can let the moment pass. They can let comfort win once more. And what happens when comfort wins? The voice gets a little quieter. The pull weakens a little. Not because the dream has disappeared, but because you've trained yourself to ignore it. Each time you hear that voice and choose to do nothing, it becomes easier to do nothing the next time and harder to act after that, until eventually the voice fades to a barely audible whisper. And you become the one who no longer hears that call. The most expensive thing inaction costs you isn't the money you didn't earn, the opportunities you missed. The most expensive price is who you never became. The version of yourself that could have existed, the stronger, braver, more alive version of you that you slowly allowed to die, choosing comfort again and again. It's that person who is the real loss. It's that person that fills the cemetery, not the bodies. Unlived versions of people who had everything they needed and still chose nothing. So what do you do about it? Because it's not just about making you feel the weight of the problem. Feeling guilty about inaction and then going back to inaction is just guilt without change. And guilt without change is worthless. So what do you actually do? You begin. That's it. That's the whole answer. You don't begin tomorrow. Not when you feel ready. Not when the conditions are perfect. Start now with what you have right where you are. Because the truth is, you will never feel ready. No one ever feels ready. Readiness is a feeling that comes after you start, not before. Courage comes after you take the first step, not before. Confidence comes from taking action, not from thinking about taking it. Make one decision today. Something that wouldn't have been achieved if you hadn't done anything. One decision. Send an email. Make a call. Sign up. Wake up an hour earlier. Write your first paragraph. Start your first workout. Have an honest conversation. Just one action that takes you from nothing to something, because something is infinitely greater than nothing. And once you start moving, even slowly, even imperfectly, the momentum builds. That's how it's supposed to be. That's how it works. And here's what I want you to understand about consistency. You don't have to take a huge leap tomorrow. You don't have to destroy your entire life and start over. You need to accumulate the days. One good day, then another, then another. Resolutions accumulate, habits accumulate, discipline accumulates. Every day you show up and work, even when you don't feel like it, even when nothing is happening, even when progress seems invisible, you are building something. And that something adds up to a life. Your life, the one you really want. Someone said it perfectly. Everything you want is on the other side of the hard stuff. Not on the other side of waiting. Not on the other side of planning and thinking and talking about it. But on the other side of doing hard things every day until they become routine. Until waking up early becomes a habit. Until work becomes your essence. Until the person you used to be, the one who chose nothing, feels like a stranger. There's a difference between a life you lived and a life that just happened to you. Most people experience the latter. Most people let the days pass, the years accumulate, let circumstances and other people's opinions and their own fears write the story, and then look back and don't recognize it as their own because it's not really theirs. They didn't write it, they just let it happen. But you don't have to be that person. You genuinely don't have to be that person. You have the same 24 hours as everyone else who has ever created anything remarkable. You have the same ability to decide, to take action, to change. The only difference between the person you admire and the person you are now is that they made a decision. They stopped waiting. They stopped asking if the time was right. And they made the time right. They chose the discomfort of growth over the comfort of stagnation. And day after day, choice after choice, they built a life that now looks from the outside like they were just lucky. They weren't. They were tireless. They were consistent. They worked when it was hard, when it was boring, when it seemed pointless, when no one was watching and no one was applauding. They did it because they understood what most people only understand when it's too late. They understood that time is finite, that the window doesn't stay open forever, that the price of inaction is a debt that grows with each passing day, and one day the bill comes due, and there's nothing you can do about it. Don't let that happen to you. That's the last thing I want to tell you. And this is what I want you to remember after watching this video. On the last day of your life, you won't think about the risks that hurt you. You won't think about the times you tried and failed. You won't think about the shame, the failures, or the difficult years. You will think about what you didn't do, the dreams you didn't chase, the person you didn't become, the life you put off until there was no time left. This moment will come for all of us, for each and every one of us. The only question is what you will think about when it comes. Will you think about everything you put into this? Will you think about the life you actually lived, the risks you actually took, the person you actually became? Or will you sit there with your heart full of what if? What if I had started sooner? What if I had tried? What if I had stopped waiting? What if I just did something instead of doing nothing?